Hello and welcome to the programme. Now, Hungary has struck an agreement with Russia's Gazprom to buy and store its gas supplies in 2020, regardless of the gas transit relationship between Moscow and Kyiv. The transit agreement between Russia and Ukraine expires at the end of this year, and a new contract has yet to be signed. Now, pleased to say, to talk more about this subject, we are joined in the studio today by Vitaliy Martynyuk. He is the head of international programmes at the Centre for Global Studies Strategy 21. Hello, thank you so much for coming in. So we saw earlier this month the meeting that took place between the Hungarian foreign minister and the CEO of Gazprom, Alexei Miller. And for some EU states, plus Ukraine, this meeting and the results of it were quite alarming. Firstly, what's your reaction to the results, the fact that the two countries wanted to strengthen their partnership and effectively increase Hungary's reliance on Russian gas at a time when it's a lot of political instability?
First of all, Hungary is very dependent on Russian gas because the import of Russian gas to Hungary is around 6.7 BCM. So Russia has the capabilities, and Hungary has needs to import gas from the Russian Federation.
To put that into perspective, sorry, what sort of percentage is that? Because perhaps our audience won't understand what 6.8 this figure is. Is that about 60 or 70% of the gas it needs?
It's around 70% because annual consumption in Hungary is around 10 BCM.
Okay. Yeah.
And now we can see that Hungary is very dependent on the Russian gas. And the result of these talks between Seattle and the authorities of Russian Gazprom is a very negative signal for Ukraine, because even now, when Nord Stream 2 pipeline is just under construction, the Hungarian authorities are looking for other routes to supply Russian gas for internal consumption. And that means that Hungary would like to reach several goals. First of all, to have guarantees to receive Russian gas in case if Gazprom stops gas transit through Ukraine. Second is that Hungary demonstrates that Budapest has specific relations with Moscow in the economic and energy sphere, and proves once again that Hungary is a member of the European Union, but has its own opinion on different issues.
Yeah,
for
because
example,
this whole relationship is not so much, in some analysts' eyes, a economic one. It's more of a political one.
Yeah.
And what sort of effect do you think? I mean, everyone talks about Nord Stream 2, but what about Turk Stream? We don't know so much about this. So how much of an impact could the Turk Stream pipeline have in terms of how much leverage Ukraine perhaps has over Russia?
Let's calculate the volumes of Russian gas which go through Ukraine to the European Union or other European countries like Moldova or Serbia, for example. Last year, the volume of gas transit through Ukraine was around 87 BCM. The previous year, I mean the year of 2017, 94 BCM. So the capacity of Nord Stream 2 is planned to be 55 BCM, and Turk Stream, if for just two lines, it's around 71 BCM. So in general, these two pipelines can cover all volume which is now transported through Ukraine. And this situation, I mean, if Turk Stream and Nord Stream 2 are built, provide a threat for Ukrainian gas transport system.
Well, because Ukraine relies a lot on the income from this transit. I mean, how much is that income, or how much was it last year or the year before? What are the latest figures?
According to announced assessment, around $2-3 billion per year. So at maximum $3 per year. This depends on the volume transported through Ukraine and on the price of transit. So Ukraine can lose these additional benefits from Ukrainian gas transport system. And of course, Ukraine can be alone with its own problem in gas sector and face Russia without support of other European countries if the transit is stopped.
Yeah, what do you think this actually means for European Union energy policy? Because they have in Lithuania, they have the LNG terminal. I know just off Croatia, they have something. They're trying to get more involved in renewable sources. But at the same time, you have countries like Hungary who are depending more and more on Russian gas. So is this a case of smoke and mirrors? Do you think that perhaps Brussels is relying more and more on gas from Moscow? Or do you think they really are trying to diversify?
Indeed, the European Union becomes more dependent on Russian gas because of decrease of internal production of gas in the Netherlands. That's why the EU in the whole needs more volumes of gas from Russia. At the same time, the European Union is looking for another routes and sources of natural gas, for example, Azerbaijan and Tanap gas pipeline, for example, gas fields in the Mediterranean, or additional volumes maybe from Norway, and of course LNG from the United States, Qatar and other countries, Nigeria and so on. But the EU member states like Lithuania and Croatia, they can build its own LNG terminal, but Hungary isn't able to build because there is no seaboard there. So Hungary is more dependent on Russian gas, and Hungary has, as I mentioned, has specific relations with Moscow. That's why Hungary demonstrates its desire to continue these relations and readiness to rely on a new route through Nord Stream 2. But now we can see that unity of the European Union is threatened in gas sector, and it is a goal of Russia, what is dangerous. It is a goal of Russia to threaten and to break this unity of the European Union. And I can say that with regard to Hungary, Russia has a little success here to increase its impact on Hungary. Because if Hungary rests dependent on Russian gas, this means that Hungary is under the energy impact from the Russian Federation.
Yeah, and it also affects neighboring countries as well. Going back to Ukraine, at the moment there's numerous court proceedings still taking place at the Stockholm Arbitrational Court between Naftogaz and Gazprom, and these cases are very complex. So how do you think they affect the risks and the opportunities for Ukraine to still remain a gas transit country in the future?
As I said about the volumes through Nord Stream 2 and Turk Stream, the current position of Ukraine as a transit country is threatened.
But do you think, for example, Nord Stream 2 is also threatened? Because although there is approval along most parts of that pipeline, in Germany, for example, there's still some sides that are giving it the green light and others that are a bit more cautious. So there's also a risk with Nord Stream 2 as well.
But Nord Stream 2 has not been stopped yet by this time. So it is under construction. And even in Ukraine, experts say that this pipeline can be built.
So what should Ukraine's strategy be then, do you think, when it comes to getting to the negotiating table with the European Commission, with Russia? What is Ukraine's position going forward?
The position of Ukraine is to receive guarantees of stable gas transit through Ukraine. And this issue is in the core of negotiations between Ukraine and Russia and the European Union. Mr. Shevchevich, Vice President of the European Commission, is a representative of the EU at these talks. So to receive guarantees of fixed volumes to be transported through Ukraine, because without this, Ukrainian gas transport system can be just several pipelines without gas, and for Ukraine it's necessary to maintain this system, to restore this system, to fill this system with the gas, to keep it operational.
But the fact that negotiations are still taking place between the European Commission, Ukraine and Russia still means that Russia needs Ukraine as a transit country. It's not like they can automatically transfer to Turk Stream or Nord Stream 2 or any other routes that they have or are building at the moment.
I think that in Moscow, authorities see these risks, risks of Nord Stream 2, risks of additional sanctions from the United States, risks of the EU rules to be applied to this pipeline, I mean gas directive, which was which was shared for offshore gas pipelines. So Russia, and of course financial risks, because Nord Stream 2 is a financial responsibility of Russia. And after 5 years of the EU and Western sanctions, Russia suffers lack of financial resources.
Yeah. And also the equipment. The sanctions have a very pinpoint...
High technical equipment, and technologies, new technologies. So Russia would like to have the plan C or D or B, we can call anyone. And that's why Russia is going to reach its goal to build Nord Stream 2, but at the same time to have another plan to keep transit through Ukraine. Because if Russia has zero export of its own gas, Russia, in this case, has zero benefits from supplying gas to European consumers. And in this case, Russia can lose a lot.
Yeah. Well, it's very interesting. Thank you so much, Mr. Martynyuk, for coming into our studio today. And of course, we'll keep a close eye on this situation. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was Vitaliy Martynyuk. He is the head of international programs at the Centre for Global Studies Strategy 21. Thank you for watching UATV and stay tuned for more.